Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We will be starting shortly. So while we're waiting for more people to join us this afternoon, please join our Slido poll so we know who is with us today. If you see on the screen there, just take your phone and scan the QR code and it'll take you into Slido. So ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the screen there, you can see our Slido poll. I'm glad to see some quick responses from our audience this afternoon. So we look forward to more responses as everybody starts logging in right now. Wow, we have quite an interesting mix with us this afternoon. 35% of those joining us today are from the venue of hotels and convention centers. We have a strong representation of 26% from exhibition, conferences, and event organizers. And we have about 12% from government agencies, 8% from academia, and we have about 4% from DMCs and tour agencies as well. Okay, the numbers are moving rapidly. It's changing and moving up and down as more and more people join. So got good numbers this afternoon. So we'll keep the Slido poll going for a while as everybody joins. Okay, we have over 100 people online with us right now, so that's really good. We'll just keep the polls open for a little bit longer. But I think the percentages are quite clear. Close to 30% from exhibitions, conferences, and event organizers. Another 30% or so from venues, convention centers, and hotels. We have a big group that's coming from others. And also government agencies and academia both remain at 12% each. So we have quite a good spread of audience today. Thank you for joining us. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, we are going to run the next poll. The next question that we ask is, have you volunteered to have you signed up for the COVID-19 vaccine in the MySejahtera app? So we'd like to see how many percent of us here have actually signed up. Wow, that's pretty good. Right now, we have about 54 people who responded to the poll question. Have you signed up for the vaccination program under MySejahtera app, and we are looking at about 80%, or rather 85% say yes, and 15% say no. So go BE industry. Okay, so all right, we'll be closing the poll shortly, and then we're getting our cue from our floor manager this afternoon. So we'll be starting very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. This. Hello, good afternoon everyone. On behalf of MACEOS, I would like to wish all our Muslim friends Selamat Hari Raya Aidilfitri, Mahab Zahir dan Batin. Thank you for tuning in and joining us this afternoon, my fellow colleagues and industry friends. My name is Didi and I'm a conference organizer. My company is Medical Conference Partners and we'll be hosting this webinar today on behalf of MACEOS. A few housekeeping notes before we start. I have prepared some questions to ask our panel of experts this afternoon, and I've also compiled the questions that have been submitted earlier, and we will get to them today. At the same time, we want to hear from all of you, our audience, so any questions you have for our panel, please put your questions in the YouTube chat box. We will try to get as many of those questions answered as much as possible today. Okay, so let's start, shall we? Today's forum touches on a very important and urgent topic. As we can see, the numbers have come out this afternoon. We thought 2020 was going to be a terrible year for our industry. We expected to start recovering in 2021. However, with our ever-increasing number of COVID positive cases, and we are now very close to chasing 500,000 cases now, I think 2021 is looking to be another washout year for our industry. Some of us have lost friends and loved ones to COVID-19, so it is very real to us. Some of us, lucky ones, have had COVID-19 and recovered from it. However, the majority of us Malaysians are lucky because our only contact with COVID-19 has been to stay at home and practice social distancing. On the other hand, it has affected all of us in this industry because we have suffered tremendous loss of income and loss of jobs because of the pandemic and lockdowns. So we are itching to get back to business and run our events and exhibitions and conferences and travel again. But let's face reality. When do you think we'll recover, and is there a magic potion that can make all this go away? So before we start, I'd like to invite Mr. Francis Teo, President of MACEOS, to say a few words. Over to you, Francis.
Oh, thank you, Didi. Well, welcome to MACEOS webinar, our fifth webinar so far since the start of this pandemic. I know we are in a difficult situation. The numbers are keep increasing. I thought yesterday that we have achieved the what I call the 6,000 numbers. That was a high record. But yet today, the latest news is that we have actually achieved 6,800 cases, and the number of deaths are also is a high side. So, colleagues of the industry, I think the only hope that we have for us to get away from this pandemic is the vaccination. That's why MACEOS is pushing on this vaccination as our key support to the government for us to recover together. As you know, we need to get the herd immunity of 80% of our 32 million population of the country. And that means that we need to vaccinate 26 million citizens or people. But right now, if you can check the MySejahtera app, only 10 million out of the 26 has registered. It means we are only at 40% of our target. So that is the challenge right now, because the thing is, the vaccine is coming. There will be more and more vaccine by the millions coming by next month. And when the 10 million is over, how about the rest? So we need more people to register for this vaccination. So here we are together. I can see that we have people from the hotel, we have people from the travel agent, and as well as the students from the universities. We are all in this together. I think for the university students, they are thinking, is there a life being after this pandemic? So they are here to understand what is it after this pandemic. So I would like to, as we said, we are opening this webinar, not just to our members, to all the community, to all our industry, because we are, as I said, we are all in this together, and we need to play a part in this recovery. So I'd like to thank the panelists, Professor Datuk Dr Zulkifli, and also Dato Sri Khani Daud, who is taking their time and to share a bit of the information on the medical side, and also the industry, the way forward for our industry in the near future. I also like to thank our moderator, Didi Hua, our Vice President for MACEOS, for spearheading this project. You know, this is very dear to her heart. I thank you for pushing this through, and also her team, CBOS, who has actually volunteered to put in all this for the benefit of our community. With that, let's get vaccinated and stay safe. Back to you, Didi.
Thank you, Francis. Thank you. Nice, short and sweet, straight to the point, like our dear Francis. Yes, thank you. Okay, that's how I hope my jabs will be, my vaccination when I get it. All right, thank you. So we're very lucky because joining us today are two esteemed experts. The first expert we have with us this afternoon is Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Dr Zulkifli Ismail. He is a consultant pediatrician and pediatric cardiologist with KPJ Selangor Specialist Hospital. He is also a past president of the Malaysian Pediatric Association, current Secretary General of the Asia Pacific Pediatric Association after serving as the president from 2012 to 2016. And most importantly, he is the chairman of Immunize for Life, a vaccination advocacy and public education program. So today, this afternoon, we have this wonderful opportunity to ask a medical expert in immunization and vaccines about COVID-19 vaccines and get answers from a credible source. Our second panelist this afternoon is our very own Yang Berbahagia Dato Sri Khani Daud, CEO of MACEOS. We want to hear from Dato Sri Khani his vision on when and how can our industry recover and whether COVID-19 vaccines and safe business events can work. So without further ado, I would now like to share my screen. The screen will show all of you the Jawatan Kuasa Khas Jaminan Akses Bekalan Vaksin COVID-19 JKJAV website. As you can see here, and as Francis has quoted earlier, Malaysia has a population of over 32.7 million people, but only 10 million of us have already registered for the vaccine, and only 1.2 million have already vaccinated. And we are told that we need to get 80% of the population vaccinated before we can achieve herd immunity. Here, I would like to ask Datuk Zulkifli to share with us what does herd immunity mean.
Thank you. Thank you, Didi, and thank you for inviting me to participate today. Herd immunity is a concept that needs a bit of thinking to understand. But basically, to put it simply, the herd immunity or herd protection is basically just to have as many of the population who's got immunity against the disease, any disease. And the reason people have come up with 80% or 70% is from calculations based on the R0. So, like for example, measles, which has a very high infectivity, then you need to have about 95% coverage before you can have that herd immunity. And for COVID, people have calculated that it will be about 70 to 80%. I just want to show you this slide, if I may, Didi. This is just to show you, just to put it into real time, what really happens. This is just to show you you all can see the slides, right?
Yes, very clear, Dato. We can see your slides.
Yeah, this is just to show Malaysia's confirmed COVID-19 cases, but per million population, all right? This is not the actual numbers. Now, I just want to put this into perspective to show where we are in terms of our neighbors. So you can see here, as at on the 18th of May, you can see that the rate per million is the numbers shown there. So we're actually second to India, and these two lines will actually converge somewhere in about 2 months' time if we don't do anything here, right? So this is cases, but let's look at deaths. These are the deaths. If you look at deaths per million, which is not what we always say numbers, right? But this is actually per million. So you get numbers like 3.01 per million, and ours is 1.2 per million. So we're actually second to India. So we're not doing that great in terms of protecting the population. And just to show you two other countries, I'm going to use this as an example to show you how effective the vaccine is and what herd immunity does. All right, this is where we link with herd immunity. Now, Israel and United Kingdom, they were having 900 cases per million, right? And at the point where they merged here, it was 850 cases per million at that time, somewhere in the early part of this year. When they had, and these are the deaths, right? Seeing again the same peaks here. But and then you can see the coverage of vaccination for Israel was more than 60%, and for United Kingdom was 55%. So, and this is ours, right, which is about 3%. So what's the effect of that? This is the graph that shows the vaccine uptake, right, by month, and it is the graph that shows the incidence. You can see that when it reaches about 50% or so, you see the drop in the number of cases here to almost to very low here. Similarly with deaths, when you reach the 50% mark, you can see how it has affected the deaths here. So this is what we expect to see in our own country as well. And this is, hopefully this is what we have as well when our population, our population is vaccinated. So just to show you the effect of herd immunity, and that's what we want to achieve. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Dato Zul. That was very, very clear and easy, even for a non-medical person like me to understand. So, but the point is we need to have herd immunity. And I hear you very clearly on that. But that leads me to the next question, which many of us have and are indeed very concerned about. In fact, my family talks about this almost every night at dinner. Right now, we have COVID-19 vaccines available in Malaysia, Pfizer, Sinovac, AstraZeneca. And the debate goes on and on and on which one is better and why and all that. So, Dato Zul, can you share with us the differences between these three vaccines?
Okay. Well, the three vaccines actually they're different. They're different in the basics in which it was made. The Pfizer and the Moderna ones use messenger RNA. Messenger RNA is part of the immune system where it's actually part of the immune system, and what you do is you actually extract the part of the virus, and then the spike protein, and then put it into cover it up with the messenger RNA, and then cover it up with a lipid, and then it's introduced to the body with some other chemicals to keep it stable, and then once it's released, the messenger RNA comes out, and then it causes the body to create antibodies that will attack the virus. It's a different concept but it's a concept that although has been just in the last 1 year, it's been made in the last 1 year, it's actually been thought of from the 1990s. So it's not something that is new at all. And then there is, and then the other is the vector one, which is what the Sinovac and the other vaccines, they use an adenovirus to carry the part into the cell. So, you know, it doesn't matter what vaccine is and what the percentages are. A lot of people talk about 95% for Pfizer, 93% for Moderna, 70% for... It doesn't really matter because you take whatever vaccine that you have at the time when you go for your vaccination. And whatever it is, there will be some protection because you will get 2 doses. And the second dose will be a booster that will actually kick in and you get your effects. So don't worry about what vaccine it is. All the vaccines have been approved by our DCA, the Drug Control Authority, and the NPRA. So just take whatever is there. I mean, I took whatever.
Okay. Thank you, Dato Zul. So, but I also face a lot of friends out there. They think that it is safer not to take the vaccine, and they would rather take the risk with COVID-19 than to take the vaccine and risk the side effects like blood clots and all that we've been hearing about. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, the risk of side effects is very, very, very rare. Okay? And then the risk of getting COVID-19, if you look at the cases that have come in the beginning, we used to have people who come in, and the people who died were the ones who were old, right? The aged, 50 years and above. Now, if you look at the data, you will see that the people who are actually going into category 3, 4, and 5 that require ventilation and all that are actually the younger people, the ones who are aged 30 and 40 and so on. So it's not worth putting yourself into that risk if you can have the protection from the vaccine. So I'm hoping at the end of this 1.5 hours, I'm hoping that the 15% who have not registered for the My Sejahtera thing, hopefully that 15% will register. So you have 100% of your members registering.
Thank you, Dato. Thank you, Dato Zul. Okay, so let's switch gears for a bit because my next question is for Dato Sri Khani. But before we get there, I want to pose this question to all of us in the audience today. 3 airlines in the world have come out and said that they are going to vaccinate all their crew. These 3 airlines are Etihad, Emirates, and Singapore Airlines. So now when travel begins again and we start flying, which airline do you think that you will choose to fly in? Okay. So these are our numbers today, comparing ourselves to our neighbors in a table. So in our ASEAN region, Indonesia has the highest number of COVID positive cases at over 1.7 million, Philippines at over 1.2 million, and Malaysia is already number 3, closing in rapidly at over 500,000 cases. Dato Sri Khani, how will these numbers affect the speed of business events recovery, and how will this affect the confidence of business events travelers?
Hi Didi. First of all, I'd like to thank MACEOS for giving me the opportunity to be here today together with Professor Dr. Zul. And then thank you to MACEOS, the President, Mr. Francis, for organizing this event or this seminar today. I think if you look at the number that we have, it's something that is actually the pandemic has a direct impact to our life, right? And all our business sector. Business event is included. I firmly believe that we as a Malaysian must work together to control this pandemic. And once this is achieved, we will be able to enjoy a bit more of freedom, business freedom, and in every sectors that we are in. Confidence is surely something that we have to put in our community, in our business, in ourselves. And at this stage, we must be positive and rebuild our industry first. So look at the number, been mentioned by Mr. Francis at the beginning just now. Today, it's more than 6,800, which is a very alarming number. And then from the presentation by Dato Professor just now, we are second to India in terms of the population or per million size, in terms of population number. So this is something that we have to be very careful together and work as a team to make sure that the pandemic won't deter our efforts to rebuild our business again, as what we have achieved in the past. Sure that our aim now is to make sure the vaccination program achieve what it's supposed to achieve. The herd community that have been explained by Dr. Professor Zul just now. And then I am quite concerned if our industry players is not registered to take a vaccine, to get that been offered by the government, it will actually, give a negative impact to our industry in the future. I give you an example. Europe, 27 countries have been discussing with America to have to allow the American coming into Europe very soon. Like I read in the New York Times, very soon. They are already talking to have a quarantine free into Europe. So because most of them have been vaccinated. So we have to really look into this and then make sure that everybody register for the vaccination program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sri. But talking about vaccination, according to the statistics in Malaysia, we have about 1.5 million Malaysian people who actually work in our industry, right? This includes the airlines, the travel agents, the hotels, the venue, event organizers, and everyone. And another 2 to 3 million in retail, which is the shopping mall, the retailers, and also F&B. How soon do you think our government can vaccinate all of us, even if we get to be in the front of the queue?
Well, this is something that we really have to relook at it. The government should really give serious consideration to to our industry. Because as I've been mentioned in many seminars, that tourism industry used to contribute to our economy. Number 2 after manufacturing, before petroleum. But now because of the pandemic, it will it's already we don't know where it's position. But I'm sure within the next 2-3 years time, the number of tourists will come back to our shore, and then we have to prepare for this. From our experience before, SARS, it lasts for 1 year. So I'm sure this pandemic, if we can contain it well, everybody will be vaccinated, and we achieve the herd community that been targeted by the government 80%. We can go back to normalcy, travel with certain restriction that will be imposed later on. As what been done before as well. So I really think that it's very important for us to put our focus to bring back the industry and then get our people ready for it. Yeah. And then the government should make sure the industry players, as you mentioned just now, 1.3 million. Actually, the number is, if you look at the total industry, is around 3.5 million. It's only 10% of the total population. that contributing to 14.7% of GNP, GDP,
Yep.
our GDP. You see, so if the government really serious in achieving herd community, and then make sure the economy come back to what it was before, and then give a confidence to the international travelers to come to Malaysia, we should make sure that this group be vaccinated first, so that we can go back and then do our business as normal, with certain restriction, of course, with the new SOP that be imposed by the government. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dato Sri. I think at the same time, when we hear, industry champions or leaders like yourself, Dato Sri Khani, and also Francis, President of MACEOS, and also our fellow industry associations as well, asking our government to pay attention to our industry and help to fight, help to save our industry. At the same time, our people also need to come forward and do what we can do, which is get vaccinated. But then, yes, and therefore, I would like to move back the questions to Datuk Zulkifli, because when we ask our fellow members of the industry, what are some of the hesitation, or what are some of the reasons why they hesitate about signing up for the vaccine? These are some of the questions which they have shared with me that I would like to ask you now, Datuk. So, Datuk, as a doctor, the question is, how does our current vaccine protect us against the new strains?
Okay, right now, people really don't know whether it is protecting or not, but we have some evidence coming out now stating that the Pfizer vaccine and the I think it's the Moderna one that has some amount of protection for the new variants. So that is something that we have to look at, because the new variants are coming up all the time. It's like the influenza virus. The influenza virus also mutates very easily, and every year it mutates. So that's why the vaccine for influenza is given every year. I'm hoping that we don't have to get this vaccine every year, but from the looks of things, it may be necessary.
Okay, so you've actually kind of answered in a way then the next question, which is, how long is the effectiveness of the current vaccines?
Okay, well, the current data shows that at least for 6 months, the antibodies are still around, but we don't know how far beyond that. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully we'll see some data coming out in the next few months, or by the end of this year.
Okay, all right. So, but then what about those who have actually recovered from COVID? They've recovered from COVID. Do they still need to go for the vaccine against the new strains?
Yeah, there's evidence to show that if you've got COVID, you have a bit of protection for about 3 to 6 months. And then after which, there's no more protection. So if you've got COVID, the advice is after about 3 months or so, you should get the vaccine.
I see. Okay, that's interesting, because that kind of explains some of the sharing that's been going around on social media and WhatsApp. And people are getting a bit confused as well whether they should go for the vaccine or not. The next question is very interesting. In fact, it is actually a combination of a few questions by different people, so I've grouped them all together, right? So basically, is the vaccine safe if I have cancer or undergoing dialysis, or if I have allergies such as psoriasis or asthma, or I'm pregnant or I'm breastfeeding? So I mean, yeah, Dato, I let you answer this.
That's a huge kind of thing to answer. But whatever it is, when you go for your vaccine, there will be a doctor who will be screening you and asking you all these questions first. So you tell them exactly what disease you have, what medication you are taking, and then they will check whether your blood pressure is normal, and they'll ask you whether your blood sugar is normal if you're a diabetic. Now, if you have, say, chronic renal failure and you're on dialysis, your chance of getting COVID is extremely high. In fact, our first patient in the hospital where I work was a patient who was on dialysis. And he came in and he collapsed and we had to take him to ICU. And at that time, we did not know that he had COVID. So the whole of ICU had to be closed for 14 days. So that's and then if you have cancer, there's no contraindication. You can get the vaccine. But if you are on chemotherapy or on some other thing, please inform your doctor and then let him decide and tell you whether you actually need to have the vaccine or not. Other than that, there's very little contraindication actually. The only contraindication if you have had a severe allergy to the vaccine in the past. If you had severe allergy, any severe allergic reaction. So you've eaten some seafood somewhere and then you had a severe reaction. Severe means not just a rash, right? Severe means you had difficulty breathing or that you carry an EpiPen with you and you have to jab yourself every time you get a reaction. That's severe. So that will not get the vaccine.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for that. I hope that answered quite a few questions because we had quite a few people ask those particular questions as well. And I feel I just hit you with a machine gun with a few questions in a row. So we give Dato Zul a break right now and we go back to Dato Sri Khani. So I have some more questions for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dato, is there any specific steps that MICEP is planning to do that will help our industry to get our employees vaccinated?
Well, in fact, Didi, I've just sent a letter to MOSTI requesting them give a priority for our industry to be vaccinated. I've yet to get any feedback from MOSTI, but this is something that I've been talking to, to the ministry, to Ministry of Tourism and Agriculture officers as well, for us to be given priority, so that we can plan our program easily, because our business is future business. We need to go and bid for the events to come to Malaysia. So in order to give confidence level to our international participants, international organizers to choose Malaysia as their destination in the future, we need to tell them that we manage, or we actually now give a priority to our industry players to be vaccinated, as what has been done by some other countries like UAE. They have vaccinated almost all of their industry frontliners. I'm not talking about country frontliners, the industry frontliners. We all, should be vaccinated, so that it will give a clear indication to the world that we are really care about their health when they come to Malaysia, and then they are meeting with people that been vaccinated. At least, for the time being, they are protected with the vaccine when they come here. So this is the effort that we, as a bureau, been doing. We hope that MACEOS and the industry players also keep asking the government to put priority for us to be vaccinated.
Thank you. And I think, like you said earlier, you said in this answer, we are an industry that always plans ahead and we're always looking forward, right? So assuming that we do get vaccinated, then is there a proposal to allow the attendees of our future business events, business events like our exhibition shows and our conferences, to actually come in to enter the country using vaccine passports? Has our government actually discussed about vaccine passports, and what do you have anything that you can share with us on this matter?
From the info that I have, we have been talking to Singapore at the moment to accept this vaccine passport or certificate, so that we can move freely into both countries. As I mentioned earlier, Europe and America are talking about this vaccination vaccine passport. The transatlantic traveling, they will make it easier, as in discuss been mentioned. They're going to announce it soon. So we at Malaysia once we achieve the herd community that targeted by the government, we should also look into allowing, other countries or other visitors to come to Malaysia, those who have been vaccinated, without, I prefer that, without quarantine, so that they can move freely in the country.
And the next question that is again related to events, but it's also, I think we would like to hear some input from Datuk Zulkifli as well. The question is from one of our colleagues. If a large percentage of Malaysians have been vaccinated and we run a live event, let's say 3 out of the 10 attendees are not vaccinated, will it be safe for these 3 to attend the event?
Okay. Yeah, it should be safe if you've got the vaccination covered. This is the principle of herd protection or herd immunity. Because if you have a greater part of the population vaccinated and immune to the disease, then the 3 who are not vaccinated will be more or less protected or shielded. The problem is now, because there are 3 there, the other people around them shouldn't be thinking, hey, I also can get protection like that. I get herd protection as well. So then you get that 3 multiplying to 6, and then multiplying to 9, and then 12. So everybody thinks the same way. So so if you the thing is, even though you have a gathering like that, if you still need to practice the distancing, you still need to wear face mask, you still need to wash your hands properly, because we really don't know whether there is full protection from the vaccine. We know that there's probably some partial protection. We know that if you're going to get into category 3, you probably end up with category 1. Or if you're going to end up with category 5, you probably end up with category 2 without getting into the complications. So yeah, it should be okay for 3 out of 10. But we don't want that 3 to think that to influence the others and then say that the others also can get it without the vaccine.
Okay, I think thank you, Dato Zul. I think that's very true. We cannot all wait and see and let everybody else go first. It's quite a Malaysian thing. That happens. So a lot of the questions that we have that we are receiving now on YouTube are actually about the vaccine rollout and why it is so slow. I don't think that this is for us here to answer that question, because we are not part of the government agency that is in charge of the vaccine. So maybe we save that for another webinar. Okay.
I think I can answer that if you want.
Okay, thank you, Dato.
The bottleneck is with the vaccines coming in, is the supply. So whatever that comes in, I think the Pfizer one, more than 70% of that is all used up, and the other 30% is kept for the second doses. The Sinovac is a bit slower; it's about 40+% being used up, but they are now starting to use the Sinovac. So the bottleneck is actually with the supply, and also vaccines that come in have to be safe for use here, which means that even if it's been approved by WHO or FDA or wherever overseas, our National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency, NPRA, and the Drug Control Authority has to have the final say. And that is the protocol that they go through. So there are a few other vaccines that are in the waiting list, like CanSino and the Gamaleya one from Russia. So those are all being assessed right now as we speak.
Okay. So we're hoping for a faster rollout of vaccines in the coming weeks then?
I'm sure it will. I'm sure that they will be multiplying very fast once we reach June onward.
Okay. That's a relief to hear, because our numbers today are very worrying. And in the meantime, we all have to practice social distancing, stay at home, don't go anywhere. Thank you, Dato. Thank you for clarifying. Dato Sri Khani, back to you. I would like to know that other than talking about the vaccination process, and getting our industry employees vaccinated, is there any other thing that MACEOS is working on that can help us to rebuild our industry? And so from a business perspective, as a business owner in this industry, what can I look forward to, or how can I help my company to recover from actions that I can take to rebuild the confidence of returning business travelers and also for our shows?
Well, actually, if you look at the government's efforts, to help the industry, there are a lot of programs that have been laid out for the business community to to grab.
Yeah.
In fact, from our side also, MACEOS, we already rolled out our Meet in Malaysia campaign, our SMP strategic marketing plan 2021-2030 also mentioning about helping the industry and working together. So this is not the issue now, but how we actually can bring the event to the country, the delegate to the country, then how we can make sure that they are really confident to continually choose Malaysia as destination. I just like to highlight here, since January to now until April, January to April, we already won 13 events, despite the current situation coming into the country, starting from next year, right? And then previous year, 2020, we have 60 events that we already won up to 2026. So the confidence level among the international organizers towards Malaysia is still okay, very high, despite the pandemic that the situation around the country. But I would like to see the confidence level continuous, with a high level with the vaccination program. Has been explained by Dato Professor just now. If the supply coming in the next couple of weeks, months, in fact, the Minister of Mosty also did mention by August, we would achieve, the number that we wanted to achieve, if not the 100%. This is something that bring the confidence to us, And despite that also, myself and MACEOS be working in the industry partners on the MySafe Planner, that laid out all the requirement for the industry to make sure the event is being organized in the safe manner when we have a chance to restart the business again, as what we did a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
In fact, last 2 weeks we had an exhibition already done and a very good arrangement at KLCC, with more than 40,000 visitors coming in. No issue at all because of the SOP that have been developed by industry and myself, the government approved, So this is something that we will continue to look into and then to monitor.
Thank you, Dato. So we should take this downtime now when it's quiet to make sure that we get our certifications and make sure that our staff is actually up to speed on the latest SOPs and also how to run safe business events in the coming months as we recover.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you. Okay. There is a question here. I think it must be from an organizer because the question is, will business event organizers need to check on vaccinated attendees as part of the SOP for future events?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, if the certificate is available, if the attendees come with their certificate, this is part of the SOPs that are going to be included in our current SOPs. Current SOPs are very strict to check every single attendees or visitors into our program. I've been through the exhibition last week, Home Deck, which are very strict, very stringent check at the entrance so that we don't have this issue of new cluster and the BE, which I already mentioned since the beginning of the pandemic. I don't want to have a BE cluster. So thanks God, until today, the business event cluster has not been mentioned by KKM yet. So hopefully, this will continue and then we won't create any problem as far as the COVID-19 is concerned.
Thank you. I think as organizers, we have always been very careful in tracking all our attendees even before the COVID-19 pandemic took place. But we have definitely stepped up our steps, our measures now to make sure that we organize safe events. Thank you, Dato Sri. Dato Zulkifli, a question has come in for you. The question is, some of the vaccinations, well, the vaccinations come in 2 doses. So in terms of effectiveness, if I had the first dose now, and then my next dose is say in 12 weeks time because I took the AstraZeneca vaccine, but in between I get invited to an event, is it safe for me to go?
Yeah, it should be. Once you've got the first dose, there is a certain amount of protection after 2 weeks. But obviously you need the second dose to get a boost in your immunogenicity. So yeah, it should be all right for you to attend the event. Just practice the usual kind of practices that we've been talking about over and over and over again. You know, you can actually protect yourself by practicing those things. Just remembering that all the time. People get it because they do not practice these.
Understand. Thank you. So you've all heard that, all right? So wear your face mask, sanitize your hands wherever you go, and practice good hygiene. Okay. All right. So now I have a few more questions that have just come in. So I'm just having a quick look here. Okay. This question is probably for Dato Sri Khani. It's related to the Selangor government having proposed to give vaccines for businesses to vaccinate their staff. So would the MICE Centre, not just in Malaysia, but the whole of Malaysia, welcome this? Sorry, I just read the question as it was typed out. So
yeah.
Okay.
So what was the question?
So I think the person that wrote this, the Selangor government has proposed giving vaccines for businesses to vaccinate their staff. Would the MICE sector throughout the country welcome this?
Oh, of course, yes. In fact, I've texted the Selangor government last night to also include, because they mentioned only the industries, you know, the SMEs. I suppose our industry is part of SME, and then I clearly mentioned that to also include my sector in it. They will give a due consideration. In fact, today they already opened up for all Malaysians to take the offer, but you have to pay 380 ringgit for vaccination for 2 doses. Yeah. In fact, I also spoken to our president, MACEOS presidents, about writing a letter to MITI for a joint letter to MITI for special arrangement for MICE as well, and to be included in their program that they're going to launch very soon.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely, we're interested in rolling out the vaccines as soon as possible to all of us. But right now, a lot of discussions are taking place, and we just have to wait until further announcements are made. I would say probably it's very safe to say part of it is because of the availability of the vaccine stocks that we have in the country, and also the prioritization of our population in general as well. Okay, so all right. So I think Dato Sri Khani and Dato Zulkifli, we were anticipating a lot more questions, but the questions are pretty much similar to what we've actually answered at the very beginning of this webinar. So we are almost an hour in already. Do you have any last words of advice or comments for our audience? Dato Sri or Dato Zul?
You can start first.
Yeah. Well, I like to highlight this. I've seen a video. I saw the video this morning by a Mongolian government, or maybe on YouTube. In Mongolia, 0 fertility rate. They are not free to do anything in the country, because no cases at the moment in Mongolia. Because simply, they really follow the SOPs that have been developed for years among the community. You know, they're very strong in fighting they have very strong fighting spirit. They close the border early, nobody coming into the country. In fact, their own people also cannot come back to Mongolia. This is something that they have done. Then they are now protected. So it's something that I want to advise our people to go for vaccination. Don't be like India. They produce vaccine, but their own people are not fully vaccinated. You know, so they have problem now. We have the opportunity now to look into ourselves and then get ourselves vaccinated, so that at least we have early protection. And the following year, maybe we have to go for another vaccination, as mentioned by Dr. Professor Zul just now. Something that I would like to urge, you know, especially our industry partners, industry players, to go for vaccination. Don't delay it, go for it. I myself already took a first dose, and then waiting for the second dose on 27th of May, you know, for the second dose. So please don't hesitate to go for vaccination if you are not having any medical problem.
Thank you, Dato Sri. Dato Zul?
Yeah, Dato Sri mentioned about India just now. I think India is very unfortunate because of the religious gathering that they had. So we actually here, we are actually very cautious about another gathering. So that's why, you know, we had the people going to Genting getting infected. It's so easy to get infected. So, and then we are worried that, you know, if you have an election as well, then you're going to have another spike. So the best thing is for everybody to stay at home at this time, and at least for this next 2 weeks or so, or 3 weeks, stay at home and don't mix around outside. Because I still see people going out to the pubs, and you know, despite the lockdown. Okay, now from me, we are now facing this pandemic and also an infodemic, which WHO has specified now. It's officially called an infodemic. So that infodemic means that there is information going out from all sorts of so-called experts and giving you all sorts of ideas which are different from the mainstream ideas. You know, it's not that we don't disagree. It's not that we disagree with it, but it's just that some of it is a bit too far-fetched, and some of it is frankly anti-vaccine, and a lot of it is actually a conspiracy theory. So I think if you want, there are a lot of people, including those in my family, who actually spread it. You know, I'm just tired of having to counter each one of them on WhatsApp. You know, so if you want to look at something, just look at things that it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and get it from the professionals rather than getting it from a professional. Maybe he's a great doctor in the United States, but some of the doctors they mentioned there, I haven't heard of their names before. And when you Google, you find that they are actually belonging to this weird club of doctors and all that. So just listen with an open mind, you know, and then decide, and then clarify it with professionals and see what the professionals say, because this infodemic is the one that's going to actually disrupt our vaccine rollout and all that. And lastly, I'm hoping that the 15% will now be converted over, and hopefully they'll sign up for my adjuster. Thanks, Didi.
Thank you, Professor Dato Zul. I'm hoping that from today's webinar, we all got a little bit of something and some direction from it. I hope that we understand now that it's better to get the vaccine than to not get the vaccine at all. if our economy is going to recover, and also if our own health of our nation is going to recover. Because I think our nation right now, as far as this pandemic is concerned, is very sick, but we are at a point where we can still turn around before we become like India. Okay, so we urge everyone to please sign up for the vaccine, and also talk to your family members or friends if they have not signed up for the vaccine yet, to just sign up, because your turn may still be a while back. There are a lot of people, as you can see, who are already waiting for their turn to come in. Okay, so when we achieve herd immunity, when we survive through this together, then our economy will recover. And this is especially crucial because all of us in business events call ourselves the economic frontliner. So thank you very much, Dato Sri Khani. Thank you very much, Professor Dato Zul, for taking your time out this afternoon to join us. We really appreciate it, and we hope that everyone has benefited from today's webinar. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Didi.
Thank
you, Dato.
You're right.
Thank you, Prof. Okay.
Thank you. In the YouTube chat group now, and please remember that even after vaccination, continue to practice safe social distancing, wear your face mask, and maintain good hygiene. See you around. Stay safe.